प्रेम से बोले श्री गणेश भगवान की जय। उमापति महादेव की जय। वृंदावन बिहारी लाल की जय। आज शक्ति जगदम्बा देवी मैया की जय। श्री पवन पुत्र हनुमान की जय। सबको जय सीताराम। A very warm, very cordial welcome is extended to each and everyone this morning. Those of you whose footsteps have led you here to the Krishna Mandir at 43rd Street, physically, we extend a very warm welcome to you. For those devotees who are viewing us online, either on YouTube or Facebook, Shubh Swagatam, we extend a very warm, cordial welcome to you as well. And for those of you who may be viewing this streaming at some time later on in the course of the week, a warm welcome is extended. This morning we've come together, all as children of that one divine being, to offer our love and our adorations to Bhagwan, to seek his blessings, to give thanks for the many blessings that we've been bestowed with, and indeed to surrender ourselves to his lotus-like feet. As we commence this morning's satsang and puja, I invite everyone to stand as we engage in invocation mantra. As we do so, let us look at the murtis before us. Whichever form of Bhagwan that we find most appealing, most endearing, I invite you to fix your gaze on that form. And having done so, then close your eyes, the windows to this physical world, and retain that wonderful, wonderful form in your mind. We go within now as we engage in invocation. Hari Om Shri Ganeshaya Namah. Om Shri Saraswate Namah. Om Shri Guru Charana Kamalebhyo Namah. Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru me deva Sarvakarishu Sarvara Jayanti Mangala Kali Bhadrakali Kapalini Durga Kshama Shibhadhatri Swaha Swadha Namostute Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Bande Jagadguru Nagindraharaya Trilochanaya Bhasmangaragaya Maheshwaraya Nityaya Shuddhaya Digambaragaya Tasmai Nakaraya Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Ramaya Ramabhadraya Ramachandramabhedase Raghunathaya Nathaya Sitaye Pataye Namaha. Om Manojavam Marutatulya Jetindriyam Buddhimatam Varishtam Bhatatmajam Varadayutamukam Shri Ramadutam Shrishi Namami. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om. Betiye, let us resume our seats. We glorify Bhagwan now as we sing his praises and glories. Let us clap our hands, let us sing lustily as we glorify the name of Prabhu.
नाचत आए गणपति आनंद राजे गोविंद राधे. 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 गोविंद राधे गोविंद राधे. गोविंद राधे नाचत आए गणपति आनंद राजे गोविंद राजे डमरू बजावत शंकर भी आए डमरू बजावत शंकर भी आए संग में आए पार्वती आनंद राजे गोविंद राजे संग में आए पार्वती आनंद राजे गोविंद राजे ब्रह्मा भी आए विष्णु भी आए ब्रह्मा भी आए विष्णु भी आए संग में आए सरस्वती आनंद राजे गोविंद राजे संग में आए सरस्वती आनंद राजे गोविंद राजे नाचत आए गणपति आनंद राजे गोविंद राजे नाचत आए गणपति आनंद राजे गोविंद राजे राम भी आए लक्ष्मण भी आए राम भी आए लक्ष्मण भी आए संग में आए सीता सती आनंद राजे गोविंद राजे संग में आए सीता सती आनंद राजे गोविंद राजे नाचत आए गणपति आनंद राजे गोविंद राजे नाचत आए गणपति आनंद राजे गोविंद राजे बंसी बजावत कृष्ण भी आए बंसी बजावत कृष्ण भी आए संग में आए राधा रानी आनंद राजे गोविंद राजे संग में आए राधा रानी आनंद राजे गोविंद राजे संकट मोचन बजरंगी आए संकट मोचन बजरंगी आए भक्ति के संग देने शक्ति आनंद राजे गोविंद राजे भक्ति के संग देने शक्ति आनंद राजे गोविंद राजे नाचत आए गणपति आनंद राजे गोविंद राजे नाचत आए गणपति आनंद राजे गोविंद राजे गोविंद राधे गोविंद राधे गोविंद राधे गोविंद राधे नाचत आए गणपति आनंद राजे गोविंद राधे नाचत आए गणपति आनंद राजे गोविंद राधे आनंद राजे गोविंद राधे आनंद राजे गोविंद राधे
प्रेम से बोले श्री गणेश भगवान की जय. We continue with Kirtan this morning as we engage now in the verses of Hanuman Chalisa as we sing lustily glorifying Mahavir Swami. With that bal bud vidya, we pray for those blessings, the epitome of humility. Let us now glorify His name.
श्री गुरु चरण सरोज रज निज मन मुकुर सुधार बरनो रघुबर विमल जसु जो दायक पल चार बुद्धिहीन तनु जानिके सुमिरो पवन कुमार बल बुद्धि विद्या देहु मोहि हरहु कलेश विकार. जय हनुमान ज्ञान गुण सागर जय कपीस तिहु लोक उजागर राम दूत अतुलित बल धामा अंजनी पुत्र पवन जरावा भीम रूप धरि असुर संहारे रामचंद्र के काज सवारे लाए सजीवन लखन जियाए श्री रघुवीर हर्ष उर लाए रघुपति कीन्ही बहुत बड़ाई तुम मम प्रिय भरत सम भाई सहस वदन तुमरो यस गावे हस कहि श्रीपति कंठ लगावे सनकादिक ब्रह्मादि मुनीसा नारद शारद सहित अहिसा यम कुबेर दिगपाल जहाते कवि कोविद कहि सके कहाते तुम उपकार सुग्रीवहि कीना राम मिलाए राजपद दीना तुम रूपध भीषण माना लंकेश्वर भय सब जग जाना युग सहस्र योजन पर भानु लील्यो ताहि मधुर फल जानु प्रभु मुद्रिका मिली मुख माही जल्दी लागी गई अचरज नाही दुर्गम काज जगत के जेते सुगम अनुग्रह तुम्हारे देते राम दुआरे तुम रखवारे पूतन आज्ञा बिनु पैसारे सब सुख लगे तुम्हारी शरणा तुम रक्षक काहू को डरना आपन तेज समारो आपे तीनों लोक हाथ के काबे भूत पिशाच निकट नहीं आवे महावीर जब नाम सुनावे नासे रोग हरे सब पीरा जपत निरंतर हनुमत बीरा संकट ते हनुमान छुड़ावे मन क्रम वचन ध्यान जो लावे सब पर राम तपस्वी राजा तिनके काज सकल तुम साजा और मनोरथ जो कोई लावे सोई अमित जीवन फल पावे चारों युग परताप तुम्हारा है प्रसिद्ध जगत उजियारा साधु संत के तुम रखवारे असुर निकंदन राम दुलारे अष्ट सिद्धि नवनिधि के दाता असवर दीन जानकी माता राम रसायन तुम्हारे पासा सदा रहो रघुपति के दासा तुम्हारे भजन राम को भावे जन्म जन्म के दुख बिसरावे अंतकाल रघुबरपुर जाई जहाँ जन्म हरि भक्त कहाई और देवता चिंतन धरई हनुमत से सर्व सुख करई संकट कटे मिटे सब पीरा जो सुमिरे हनुमत बलबीरा जय 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 हनुमान गोसाई कृपा करहु गुरुदेव की नाई जो सत बार बात कर कोई जो तही बंदी महासुख होई जो यहाँ पढ़े हनुमान चालीसा कोई सीधी साखी गौरी सा तुलसीदास सदा
प्रेम से बोले श्री महावीर स्वामी की जय. This morning, before we begin our discourse, just a couple reminders and announcements. We are reminded that on upcoming events, as far as the Mandir celebrations go, with the lifting of restrictions and with the return to some sense of normalcy, we will be having puja on the occasion of Guru Purnima, and this will be on Wednesday, the 13th of July, from 4:30 p.m. So you're all invited to attend. So that will be 4:30 p.m. on Wednesday, the 13th of July. Moving thereafter, we will be focusing towards the Ganesh Utsav celebration. Ganesh Utsav will commence on the 30th of August and will move straight into September, culminating on the morning of the 9th of September, when we will be engaged in the Visarjan. And prior to that, our evening satsangs and yagya. So just bear those dates in mind as they are coming up. Prior to that will be the observance of Janmashtami, which will take place on Thursday, the 18th of August. And even prior to that, we will be having Gauri Mata Puja in preparation for Ganesh Utsav. We will also be observing Raksha Bandhan, which will take place earlier in August. So there are many events that are upcoming as we move to the close of the school term and as we move into what was traditionally be regarded as the vacation period. And I'm saying this particularly with respect to our congregation who are here physically, but more so to those persons who are viewing online, and still, you know, there's that little bit of anxiety with respect to what's ongoing. The pandemic is by no means over. We still are required to take certain precautions, to be careful. Obviously, if we are experiencing any flu-like symptoms, we should not be congregating with others, and we should self-isolate and so on, test and make sure that you know what you're dealing with. So those are some of the precautions, but we need to continue to go on. So those are some of the upcoming events as far as the Mandir is concerned. In addition to that, some of the classes are rolling back out. As we know, for example, the children will be invited to go across to that. That has been rolled back out, but we've noticed that they, again, a little bit of a challenge with regard to the young ones coming out, and we suspect it's because of some anxieties and so on the part of the parents, and we want to urge you to overcome those, because our teachers are very well equipped and the procedures that they follow lend themselves to a very safe environment. So the Balvihara classes take place every Sunday morning, and it's geared from children who are 5 years old and up. We normally cut off for students who enter into secondary school, so that's the demographic we're looking at. And we urge you to have your children attend. Yoga classes are ongoing and continue on Mondays from 5:30 under the very expert guidance of our teacher, Sri Maldev Maharaj. And for those of you who attend, you can attest that it is indeed very beneficial in terms of improving our well-being and wellness in a very holistic way. So we encourage persons to attend. Other classes will be rolling out and are rolled out, dance classes and music classes and so on. So you'll be hearing more of that as we continue to ramp up the activities to get us back to where we were before. In addition to that, the Mandir, as you were aware, would have had its annual general meeting in May. New persons were brought on board, the management committee was reconstituted, and then following that we had the election of the officers, and I want to publicly state the officers so that you'd be aware. Some of them are here, but due to circumstances, some of them may not be here this morning. So we have leading us once more as our chairman, Mr. Maldev Maharaj. Please give him a round of applause. Our vice chairman, Mr. Gangadeen Sinanan. Our treasurer, Mrs. Neela Maharaj. Our secretary, Mrs. Mala Bahadur Singh. Our public relations officer, Mr. Vishnu Babulal. And our assistant secretary is Mr. Dindyal Ramharak. And our assistant treasurer is Mr. Roger Bisoon. So those are the members of the executive of the management committee that will be leading us on. And then we have standing committees that are geared towards the planning, execution of certain events in the Mandir and certain functions. So firstly, we have the social outreach committee that has been very active in terms of assisting persons who are in need and outreach and so on. Particularly, they are the ones that spearhead the blood drive, and that is being headed once more by Mr. Krishna Bahadur Singh. And what I would urge members to do, those of you who are present and those who are viewing on, to please be aware of these committees and to volunteer your time and your expertise to these committees so that we can once more be as active and proactive as we would like to be. On the building committee, building and maintenance of the Mandir, you know, we see many things here ongoing and for our comfort and so on. It takes dedication, it takes effort. So the chairing of that committee is joint this year. It will be jointly chaired by our chairman, Mr. Maldi Maraj, and Mr. Kurt Suku. And please, again, I would ask you to lend your expertise once called upon to do so. And we then have the finance committee and fundraising. We know we always turn off when we hear that. But finance and fundraising is being headed by our vice chairman and by our treasurer, so Mr. Gangidin Senanan and Mrs. Neela Maharaj. So when they come to you, please give very generously of your resources, whatever it might be. And then finally, the religious committee, and that is the committee that has been responsible for planning and executing all of our religious functions, including the Sunday morning service. I am heading that committee once more. And I would urge many persons, when I make the appeal, to please volunteer your time and your expertise, because it really requires a concerted effort. And we're looking for all persons of all ages, all genders, and indeed all brackets to join on these various committees and to assist us. So you'll be hearing more about that in the upcoming weeks. I just thought I would allude to that. At this juncture, therefore, I want to extend our hearty congratulations to all of the very, very many students who have written and who are successful in the SEA examinations. Results were disclosed on Friday, so please give them all a round of applause. I will not single out names, but there were many students from the Mandir and associated with the Mandir who were successful and who did very well in the SEA examinations. So we extend congratulations to them, to their parents and support group, and particularly to their teachers and schools and school administration in order to allow that success. It's been a very difficult 2 years, and that's a tremendous understatement with the pandemic, and we're still reeling from the effects of that. I'll speak a little bit more about that during the pravachan. But yes, we want to extend congratulations to them and wish them all of Bhagwanji's blessings as they journey on to a new chapter, and as they will soon find out, a very different chapter in their progress and in their journey forward, and that is in secondary school. So at this juncture, I'd invite the teachers of the Balvihar class to escort the children across, all children. This is the last Balvihar class for this term, and they will be taking a break in line with the August vacation, and then resuming once more in September. So this is the final Balvihar class, and thereafter there'll be a slight break for students and teachers, and then resumption will take place in September. So let me invite the teachers to move across with the children to the Balvihara class. As they do so, I invite us all to sit upright as we engage in one moment of pratna. Hari Om Shantakaram Bhujagashayanam Padmanabham Suresham Vishwadharam Gagana Sadrisham Vedavarnam Shubhagam Lakshmi Kantam Kamalanayanam Yogi Vidya Nagamyam Bande Vishnu Mavabhayaharam Sarvaloke Kanatam Om Shanti 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 Hari Om. Swami Chinmayana says, we should all strive to be the divine souls and emulate the qualities of Bhagwan, so that we should forgive and give. We should forgive and give. And we should try to avoid the tendencies which are naturally inherent in man, and those are the tendencies to get and forget. So we should try to avoid those tendencies of to get and forget, and instead try to emulate those ones of give and forgive. This morning, I was mindful about so many things that are happening. One would have been the recent passage of what turned out to be the non-storm in Trinidad and Tobago, Tropical Storm Bonnie. And appearing right after that were images on social media of a Trinidad and Tobago national identification card. I'm sure many of you would have seen it. And the photograph that appeared on the card was that of a Vanner that looked very much like the individual behind me. And the name ascribed to that individual was Pawan P. Hanuman, citizen of Trinidad and Tobago. So we still adhere to the belief that God is a Trini because we have been spared the havoc that would have been wrought by a full-blown effect of a tropical storm. Not a hurricane, tropical storm. And many persons had varying views about it in terms of the preparation, in terms of whether employees should have been let off or not let off from work in order that they could, secure themselves and their being and so on. And it's rather interesting, and I'd invite us all to reflect upon the events and to reflect upon what transpired and to express that gratitude that while not everyone, the majority of our citizenry, was spared in terms of property and in terms of life, most importantly, there was still widespread flooding in many areas, particularly in areas that are prone to flooding, like Barrackpore and the Penal areas, but also in areas of Central. And Toko was particularly hard hit. We saw many persons there being adversely affected. So we must give thanks for that gratitude, for that blessing. We must be grateful for those things. Then we've had many other occurrences that took place, those of a legal nature, and many things surrounding that in terms of who got off and the Privy Council doing this and that. And we sometimes wonder, well, what is that really important to as far as the ordinary man is concerned? We've continued to have the escalation in crime and the horrific number of killings that are taking place, particularly on the weekend. The chairman, I make it a point not to read the papers before I come to Mandir on a Sunday morning. I'll do that after, because I want to maintain my calmness. But I was told by my chairman that 13 deaths for the weekend, 13 murders, and we really wonder where we're going with that. Yes, in an island, twin island republic, we really wonder what's happening. And then the success of the students in SEA exams, the conclusion of those students who are writing CSEC and CAPE and so on, but the startling numbers that were released by the Minister of Education, that 9,000 plus students who wrote the SEA exams, 9,000 plus, think of the numbers, scored less than 50%, in other words, did not make the pass mark in English and in mathematics. 9,000 persons did not make the pass mark in English and in mathematics. And I want us to think about that and the effect of that will be rippled throughout the school system, our communities, and as we go forward. As a result, people would say of the pandemic, but I think the pandemic is a major cause, but that's not the only one. So where are we going with that? And I could tell you that even at the post-tertiary level, where I have the fortune to be there as an educator, you are seeing the decline in standards of the quality of students coming through the system. And I'm saying this without apology, especially since we have so many young persons here. And I say this without apology because it is apparent to me that our systems are failing. Our systems are failing. I'm not going to blame the child. I am honestly not going to blame the teachers either, because teachers have to work within a system. And I say unapologetically, our systems are failing. And when you go tinkering with the education system, politically, whoever is in power, without proper thought, that causes an effect. And the tinkering started back in the days, in my respectful view, when you did the shift system with the junior and senior secondary schools. That caused a tremendous damage. And what is the problem we're seeing now? And I'm saying this from the perspective that I sit at. It is attitudinal in a large way. Because the trust now has become the success in an exam and certification rather than an education. And as a result of that, students from kindergarten, primary school, secondary school, tertiary levels are focused on passing an exam at all costs. It doesn't matter how I do it. Right? We had allegations about a particular government minister and plagiarism. Right? So it occurs across the board. And you see many loopholes being unearthed and being exploited by persons solely for the purpose of passing an examination. The whole lessons industry has become big business in this country, right? And it starts from primary school level. Who would have thought that children who are in Standard 1 and Standard 2 go into lessons? Think about that, Standard 1, Standard 2 lessons. And we gear up these children to write this all wonderful SEA exams. And that just came out. And yes, you had so many persons smiling and happy, but what you don't see are the tears of those who didn't pass from a first choice. So what? So what if you didn't pass for your first choice? That does not define you as a person. And there are so many persons who have passed for their first choice and have been dismal and abysmal failures as citizens and as people. Let me repeat that. So many people who have passed for their first choice at SCA, but turned out to be dismal and abysmal failures as people and as citizens. And there are so many persons that have not passed for their first choice, but have turned out to be sterling examples of success. And that's what we need to focus on, not about what other things. And I say this to us all because I know I am speaking to the converted here, so to speak, but you are all ambassadors in terms of bringing about the change that we want to see in this beautiful country. That change that will take time, that change that will take effort, and it starts with attitudes. It starts with attitudes. I am horrified to see mature students, and I'm not talking about SCA or secondary school students, I'm talking about tertiary level students, mature students who see nothing wrong in pushing the ethical boundaries to the point where it's broken simply for the success that they're seeking in terms of certification. Prepare to do anything. Plagiarize, cheat, copy, do whatever. As long as I don't get caught, all is well. And that we see as the basis for which a corrupt society is formed. And when we think about corruption, we focus and we talk about politicians quite rightly. I'm making no apologies for politicians, but corruption has become endemic in our society, in many, if not all of our institutions. Look at what happened recently with the killing of that police constable, PC Gilks. And the first blame that came out was that it was the individual they were going after that shot the police officer. You know what the investigation found? Unequivocally, it was his own colleagues that shot him. Accidentally, maybe. But the point is, their first reaction was to cover themselves and lie. And if you have that occurring in an institution where you expect trust, then where are we going? So it starts at the top, it starts at the bottom, it starts all over. You just need to now do what you can do as individuals and as families and make that change. And so this morning, I look at Bhagavad Gita and Krishna Bhagwan speaking to us about the qualities that we must try to engender in ourselves. He says to Arjuna in chapter 14, verse 17, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Sattva sanjaye jnanam rajaso lobha eva cha pramadhamu tamasyo bhavatu jnana eva cha. Knowledge, he says, arises from sattvic qualities, sattvic tendencies. Greed from rajasic tendencies. And heedlessness, delusion, and ignorance, and I'll stress that word, ignorance, from tamasic qualities. We as individuals must always strive in our lives to attain that sattvic tendency and personality in what we say, in what we do, in our thoughts, all of it. And that's why it is recommended that that approach be manifest through the various things we do. It is no happenstance that our rishis and munis tell us about the actions that we ought to perform on a daily basis. They tell us about the foods even that we should be eating and avoiding on a daily basis. It tells us about the company that we should keep in order to promote those tendencies. So our rishis and munis in all of our scriptures have told us all of this. Why? Because if you harbor and you engender those sattvic qualities, then you become a fearless individual. Fearless individual. And what do I mean by a fearless individual? I mean one who has achieved a position in their mind that they are not concerned by things that lead them to destruction. And do make no mistake about what I'm speaking about. If somebody's pointing a gun at you, then yes, you must have fear in you. You should not be sitting in a car where somebody is driving at 150 and 160 and 120 kilometers per hour and driving recklessly. You should have fear. You should have fear. But I'm talking about relieving yourself of the attachment that engenders fear. Think about the one thing that people fear the most in this life. What's the one thing that you think everybody is fearful about in the main? It begins with a D and it ends with a H. So all the Wordle fanatics. Death. We all scared too bad about death. That is the big one that we all frightened about. But you know what? We all know it's going to happen. There's no ifs, buts, or maybes about that. We know it's going to happen. So if we know that, then how do we prepare ourselves for that? Pretend like it do exist? Nah, man. I too young, I too pretty, I too intelligent, I too rich, I ain't going to die. Elon Musk going to die, you know. As rich as he is, Shah Rukh Khan as beautiful and handsome as he is, he's going to die. Katrina Kaif, she's going to die. We all are. So what do we do knowing that? We are to do the things that our scriptures say. And so to get us to that point of engendering those sattvic qualities and tendencies, what are the actions that we should perform? Well, Krishna Bhagavan tells us that too. In Bhagavad Gita. It is also expressed in Ramcharitmanas. Pandit Devendra, when he was here, the last occasion, spoke about it. Binu sattasanga vivekana hoi. Coming together in good company for uplifting and laudable purposes, that's a start. So when our children at 15 and 16 finish right exam and they say, Mom and Dad, head into Tobago, you know, island crashers. Yeah, well, you know what island crashers is? Some of you do, some of you don't know. You know what I'm talking about, but some of you do know what I'm talking about. Island crashers is our Trinidad and Tobago equivalent of spring break in Florida. So I go there and I let loose. No supervision. I do what I want, how I want, when I want, because I'm cooling my brain. Yes? Many years ago, it started off with the limes at Gulf City and Brain Cooler. And you'll see throngs of young, unsupervised people being let loose. Nothing is wrong with people having some recreation and some freedom. But where is the supervision and guidance when that is needed, especially at that age? It is absent. And that leads to certain vices and development of vices that does not bring about sattvic or positive qualities. I make no apologies again. Imagine you have an event called Stink and Dirty. That's the name of it, Stink and Dirty. And it is held at the tsunami shelter known as the Brian Lader Fete Stadium now, because every fete is there. Neighbors are complaining, residents are complaining because the noise is so loud. The Prime Minister himself said he was looking on in amazement at the thousands of people there totally unmasked, with not a care in the world, and he was waiting with bated breath to see what is the rollout of that. Well, I'll tell you what the rollout of that is. We have had a spike in COVID, reported or not. That's the reality. We all know somebody who get COVID recently who have it. We all know somebody. Directly or indirectly, there is an effect. So while we may not see it in the numbers and the hospitalizations, the productivity of our country and attendance in our school system has taken a nosedive. And those are some of the consequences. Yes, enjoy yourself, but why not do so in a careful way? What does the name itself connote? Is that sattvic? Well, I'll leave you to judge that. One of the things Bhagwan tells us is that we must have compassion. And I'll give you a little story. There was once a very pious king, very noble. And compassion means giving of yourself and what you have and what you are able to give. That's what compassion is all about. Yes, and when we do puja, we are taught a lot about giving. So you have vastradan, annadan, dakshinadan, all sorts of giving, unsolicited and selflessly. It teaches us that's not how we should behave in our interaction. Give of yourself, give what you have. Blessed is that wealth, as the late Pandit Rampasad used to say, Pandit Ramnarayan Rampasad, that is acquired by the proper means, and even more blessed is that wealth that is used to propagate noble qualities and noble ideals. That was something he would recite all of the time. So this king was sitting under a mango tree, very much like Vishnu's Julie mango tree, with plenty Julie mango on it, right? You've seen the nice, luscious ones that you want to eat. And he's sitting there, these mangoes all above him, and he gets hit with a stone, braps. A big stone hit him. Now you could imagine if the Prime Minister was sitting down somewhere and he get hit with a stone, how he could react. Now what was surprising is the guards of the king went and found the person who pelted the stone and brought the person. It was a lady. It wasn't a bucket of water in Betham. It was a stone that hit the king. And they're now doing an inquisition. Why did you pelt this stone at the king? And the lady was all very contrite and she's very remorseful. And she said, no, I was not pelting the king. I'm hungry. I have children. We have no food. I was trying to get a mango. I was trying to get a mango so that I could feed my children. I did not see the king there, and I was trying to get a mango. That's the reason I pelted the stone. And to the amazement of everybody there, what did the king do? Imprison her? No. He said, let her go, please release her. And he gave her all that she needed in terms of money and food and so on. And everybody looked on at him in amazement. But how you could do that? You are the king, you get hit with a stone. He said, think about it this way. That tree is a gift of nature. That tree, that mango tree, gives of its fruit to anybody who wants it. Whether it's a rich person, a poor person, an old person, a young person, gender, doesn't matter. That mango tree will give that fruit to anybody who wants it. And he said, if a tree could do that, and I am a human being, why can I not be better than that tree? Why can I not be better than that tree and give of whatever I have, again, without any expectation? What a beautiful sentiment. Think about any of our gifts of nature. The wonderful sunshine that we have out there. You think it's shining on Uncle Ajoda and not on me? We both enjoy the same level of it. Think about the water that flows from the streams and so on. I'm not talking about flood water now, right? Water that we can have and drink and so on. Do you think Uncle Suklal is getting that water and I'm not getting it? No. Equally. Any of the gifts, the air that we breathe, All of those gifts of nature that we take for granted are given to us by Bhagwan without any condition, without any discrimination. And therefore, that compassion that we all have the ability to develop in our lives, we must try to do that, because that takes us a step further along this sattvic path that we talk about. And when we start journeying along that pathway, then things and doors and opportunities open up for us. Maybe not as fast as we would like them to, but they do. And we become more comfortable with ourselves. We become more happy with ourselves because we can help others. You know, every Christmas time, every single Christmas time, and I'm sure everybody here see that. You know, there's the movie about Scrooge. I'm sure everybody see that. And what was the problem with Scrooge? He had so much, but he didn't give to anybody. So much so the poor man couldn't sleep any night. He had all of these ghosts of the past, present, and future coming for him. And it was only when he came to that realization that he could help others that he felt truly happy. Truly happy. And so it is, in so many different ways, we see that being illustrated before us. And I could sit here and speak of so many examples from our scripture and otherwise, but we all know them. And why is that? Because once we go down that path of generating those sattvic tendencies, then many of the problems that we see in our society, attitudinal and otherwise, will gradually diminish. If anybody sitting here or elsewhere feels our crime problem will be solved by a political party, by a commissioner of police, or by the police force giving them 1 million cars, you have another thing coming. That's not going to happen. It starts with each person, and it starts in the home. It starts in the home and then must transcend into the schools. And part of that triage is including some spirituality, which unfortunately is devoid in so many of our people. Home, school, spirituality. You can't beat it. If any one of those three are weak or broken, you have a problem. And you need to find out how to fix that. And that is what we should be striving towards. And then everything else will fall into place. You know, we all concerned, and I'll close with this, about the economy of Trinidad and Tobago. Oh God, we oil and gas run out. So what? That was a finite resource, it's like our own death. We knew that was coming. We knew that was coming. So what is the problem? We don't have the ingenuity and the innovation to look elsewhere. You know how long we talk in diversification? We have so many things going for us. If we would only look, and if we would only make the right decisions, so many things going for us. So the economy is bad, yes, but you know what? It could be fixed. We just need to have the proper leadership and make the right efforts. I'm sure everybody sitting here today has interacted with or knows somebody who has interacted with a Venezuelan migrant. And scale for scale, if you have to ask the question, who works harder? Think of somebody to cut your grass, a Trini or a Veni. And I'm saying this without apology. 99.9% it is the Veni. Why? The attitude of Trinidadians and Tobagonians is one, truly it fits, stink and dirty. Because we are not prepared to work anymore. We have been so spoiled by oil and gas that we are not prepared to do the right things. We are not prepared to put in the hard work. We are not prepared to not cut the shortcuts and corners. And it starts with everybody. So, from our little children, let us set the example. Let us inculcate in them in the values. That's why I keep saying this Balvihara class is critical. Critical. Because we need to capture and keep our children and give them that foundation so when they grow up to be teenagers and the temptations come, take this, go here, smoke this, drink that, they will be able to say, no thank you. I understand that, I know what it is, you know what, I don't want that experience, not for me. Or even if they go and they're tempted into the experience, have the fortitude to say, all right, I did that, done that, that's enough. Some people don't know that, you know. They're still living in teenage years in their 40s and 50s and 60s because they haven't gotten any wiser. So as I conclude with our pravachan, with so many things, I want to once more encourage us to remember what our scripture says in terms of cultivating those sattvic tendencies in ourselves, all of us, and how they can be done. One of the most fundamental ways is in how we engage in compassion. And if we have that compassion and that spirit of giving, then many things that we have in society that are undesirable will be removed. Less killings, less violence, less cheating, less corruption, so many things. Because we should be like Bhagwan, to give and forgive, and not be like the other side, to get and to forget. Prem se bole Bindravan Bihari Lal ki jai. I invite you now to come forward and to perform your arati. Please again put on the gloves as you come forward and as you perform your arati. Maintain that physical spacing, and when you finish, dispose of the gloves and resume your seats.
Bolo bolo samil bolo Om Namah Shivaya. 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 Bolo bolo sab mil bolo Om Namah Shivaya. Jut jitami Gangadhari. Trishul dhari dhamaru bajave. Trishul dhari dhamaru bajave. Dham 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 dhamaru bajave. Dham 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 dhamaru bajave. Gunjutao Namah Shivaya. Gunjutao Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Hari Om Namah Shivaya. Hari Om Namah Shivaya. Bolo bolo samil bolo Om Namah Shivaya. Bolo bolo samil bolo Om Namah Shivaya. Bolo bolo samil bolo Om Namah Shivaya. 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 Bolo bolo samil bolo Om Namah Shivaya. Jut jitami Gangadhari. Jut jitami Gangadhari. Trishul dhari बोलो बोलो सब में बोलो ओम नमः शिवाय।
बोलो सब में बोलो ओम नमः शिवाय।
बोलो बोलो सब में बोलो ओम नमः शिवाय।
We join in reciting the mantras of the Madhur Ashtakam in preparation for the observance of Shri Krishna Janmashtami.
अधरं मधुरं वदनं मधुरं नयनं मधुरं हसितं मधुरं हृदयं मधुरं गमनं मधुरं मधुराधिपति रखिलं मधुरं मधुराधिपति रखिलं मधुरं वचनं मधुरं चरितं मधुरं वसनं मधुरं वलितं मधुरं चरितं मधुरं प्रमितं मधुरं मधुराधिपति रखिलं मधुरं मधुराधिपति रखिलं मधुरं वेणुर्मधुरो वेणुर्मधुरा पाणिर्मधुरा पाणो मधुरो वेद्यं मधुरं सख्यं मधुरं मधुराधिपति रखिलं मधुरं मधुराधिपति रखिलं मधुरं गीतं मधुरं पीतं मधुरं मुक्तं मधुरं सुप्तं मधुरं रूपं मधुरं तिलकं मधुरं मधुराधिपति रखिलं मधुरं मधुराधिपति रखिलं मधुरं करणं मधुरं करणं मधुरं हरणं मधुरं श्रवणं मधुरं वमितं मधुरं शमितं मधुरं मधुराधिपति रखिलं मधुरं मधुराधिपति रखिलं मधुरम् गुंजा मधुरा माला मधुरा यमुना मधुरा वीची मधुरा सलिलं मधुरं कमलं मधुरं मधुराधिपति रखिलं मधुरं मधुराधिपति रखिलं मधुरं गोपी मधुरा लीला मधुरा युक्तं मधुरं मुक्तं मधुरं दृश्यं मधुरं शिष्टं मधुरं मधुराधिपति रखिलं मधुरं मधुराधिपति रखिलं मधुरम् गोपा मधुरा गावो मधुरा यष्टिर्मधुरा श्रीश्रीर्मधुरा दलितं मधुरं शलितं मधुरं मधुराधिपति रखिलं मधुरं मधुराधिपति रखिलं जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी
Sabule Bindraban Bihari Lal Ki Jai. Before we stand for final arti, a couple announcements. Firstly, again, I want to extend a warm welcome to each and every person who's been here this morning for satsang. I see some new faces, and Lauren's sister, for example, very new face. A young lady who's next, Amrita, also very warm welcome to. No, Kurt is not a new face. Kurt just looks like a new face because of the haircut. But anyway, warm welcome to everyone this morning. We're glad to see you with us. And we do look forward to seeing you with us each and every Sunday, especially for the young ones. Keep and CSEC exams are done. Whew, sigh of relief. Guess what? The exam of life is still continuing. I want to extend belated birthday greetings to a very young, beautiful lady, Srimati Mala Maharaj. Please give her a round of applause. She celebrated her birthday yesterday. Happy, happy birthday belatedly, and indeed to all persons who are celebrating their birthday, who may have celebrated anniversaries or special occasions. We want to extend very warm greetings to you all. You are reminded, those of you who would like to make contributions towards the upkeep of the mandir by way of donations, to please see Mr. Gangadin Sinanan or Mr. Malu Maharaj, or indeed the treasurer, Mrs. Neela Maharaj, after service. We welcome all and any donations that you may wish to give, because every little bit keeps us going and keeps the premises and upkeep going. So we look forward to your donations. Please, those of you who are viewing online, there's some information that is being registered at the bottom of your screen in terms of the account numbers. So you may feel free to do a direct deposit to our accounts, and those will be acknowledged by way of receipts. So thank you all very much in advance for the contributions that you would want to make to the upkeep of the mandir. Members are invited to attend and to recognize that the Sri Savak Sabha will be having its monthly meeting this Wednesday from 4:30 p.m. So that's the Sri Savak Sabha, the Women's Service League of the Krishna Mandir. And at this meeting, it will be the occasion of the annual general meeting of the Sri Savak Sabha. So a special appeal is being made to all members, those of you who are here, those who are looking on, to please attend, participate in the AGM, so that once more all of the regular activities of the Sri Savak Sabha could be back on stream, notwithstanding that the pandemic is still with us. The restrictions have been lifted. So we look forward to all of you attending and being part and parcel. And then finally, next week Sunday, in terms of meetings, next week Sunday, I will be having a religious committee meeting right after service. So those of you who are interested in serving on a religious committee, and that should be everybody, we look forward to you. So I'm giving you advance notice. So gentlemen, you all can, make the food beforehand before you come to Mandir. Ladies as well, you can have the takeout on speed dial so that you have no reason not to stay behind for a couple more months, as we have a religious committee meeting next Sunday right after service. And finally, in conjunction with what I said earlier, that is the upcoming celebration of Ganesh Utsav, we want to make an appeal, two things. One, persons who would like to participate by way of being the lead shrota. So how we normally would do this would be on the 30th, that is the 30th of August when we commence. The Pran Pratishtha ceremony would commence that day. And then following that, each evening we would have an evening satsang, which is very intimate, personal, and so on. And you perform your individual puja. So we would normally have a lead shrota for each evening. Then the final 5 nights of the Ganesh Utsav, we have a formal yagya, and we'll be reinstituting that. And those persons or families who would like to sit for the yagya, so you have options, right, in terms of the evening puja, or if you want to sit together with your family members for the yagya, that will be in the final 5 nights. I'd invite you to give your names to Mrs. Rama Umrao or Mrs. Renuka Maharaj, either of those two, please, so that they can indicate who is interested and so on. And then in tandem with that, we normally have a murti that has been crafted, not the ones that are purchased from the puja store. But for many, many years now, with the exception, I think, 1 year, we've been having the murti prepared by Donnell Jagmohan. And he again will be doing it this year. So the Gauri Mata Puja will be performed on the 1st of August. The dirt that is consecrated will be used to prepare that particular murti. The murti is brought here, and puja is performed, and so on. And then the Visarjan takes place where that murti is immersed. So those persons or families who would like to contribute towards the acquisition of that murti, because we give a donation to Donnell, and therefore that it is something that they put a lot of hard work in, and when you see the murti, it is really spectacular, and it's worth whatever contribution we make. So anybody or family who would like to contribute towards that, again, I would invite you to see either Mrs. Rama Umrao or Mrs. Renuka Maharaj to give your indication. If you cannot cover the entire cost. One family, and families would like to join together, we could welcome that as well. But there are several costs associated with the Ganeshotsav celebration, including meals and other things, and therefore any donation you give towards that undertaking will be much appreciated. So things to think about. I know times are difficult. I know for our prices, and Cricks in particular has gone up, but we make do with what we have. That has been our tradition always. You know, long time you used to hear about Panchauti Yagya, where people join together and so on. So we are going back to that realm. It doesn't have to be anything extravagant. Whatever you can afford, that charity, that spirit of giving, we would welcome. So with those few announcements, we thank you for attending. We look forward to seeing you with us again next Sunday. And to the many persons who view us online, unless you're out of the borders of Trinidad and Tobago, please make the effort to come with us and join us physically at the Mandir. Let us all now stand for Arati Bhajan and closing prayer.
We would also like to extend a happy wedding anniversary to Pandit Rudy and Auntie Neela Maharaj. They are celebrating 27 years of marriage yesterday. Om Jai Jagadish Hari Swami Jai Jagadish Hari Bhakt Jano Ki Sankat Das Jano Ki Sankat Kshan mein dur kare Om Jai Jagadish Hari Jo dhyave pal paave dukh bin se
क्षण में दूर करी ओम जय जगदीश हरि ओम जय जगदीश हरि ओम जय जगदीश हरि
Hari Om. As we clasp our hands, close our eyes, and bow our heads in final prayer, we do so in complete surrender before you, Bhagwan. You are all knowing, you are all powerful, you are all merciful, you are all compassionate. We are your children. We give thanks to you for all of the blessings that you've bestowed and continue to bestow upon us daily, for this gift of life, for the ability to give of ourselves and uplift others, for the ability to worship you in a very focused and deliberate way. We pray for those persons who are sick. We pray for those persons who are ailing. We pray for those persons who've lost a loved one, to give them, Prabhu, that strength and that courage, that fortitude to continue on. To those persons who are engaged in deviant acts and behavior, who are causing distress to others, please inspire their minds that they would indeed see the error of their ways and would indeed correct their trajectory and their pathway. For you, O Lord, a mother, you are father, you are family, you are friend, you are knowledge, you are wealth, you are everything to us. We surrender ourselves completely to your will. Hari Om. Tvameva Mata Shapita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhu Shasika Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravinam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Om Sato Ma Sadgamayam Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamayam Mrityurma Amritam Gamayam Om Shanti 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 Hari Om. प्रेम से बोले श्री गणेश भगवान की जय, उमापति महादेव की जय, वृंदावन बिहारी लाल की जय, आज शक्ति जगदम्बा देवी मैया की जय, श्री पवन पुत्र हनुमान की जय। प्रेम से बोले श्री सत्य सनातन धर्म की जय। To those around you, सब कोई जय सीताराम, जय सीताराम, जय सीताराम। May Bhagwan bless us all. May we have a very safe and productive week ahead. We look forward to seeing you all with us again next Sunday. Jai Sitaram, everyone.
बार बार